Hello students, I hope all of you are fine. The chapter Physical and Chemical Changes is started and I hope the topics which are already covered you have understood those. The concept is clear to you. Now come to the next topic. So let us begin with. Students, look at the picture carefully. This is a picture of iron wires used for fencing purpose. You can see there is a difference in color. Some are gray in color and some are brown in color. But both the types are made with iron only. Actually, the gray color wires are not rusted. That means it is fresh iron without rusting. And the brown colored wires are rusted. So this is called rusting. Or what is rusting of iron? Actually, what happens? Iron is a metal, so metals are reactive in nature. Iron is also a reactive metal. When iron is kept open in damp air means air which contains moisture. That is called damp air. In damp air, then what happens? Iron reacts with the oxygen and the moisture present in atmosphere to form a new substance, that is iron oxide. And the color of this new substance, iron oxide, is brown. It forms a brown layer on the surface of the iron. So, conditions necessary for rusting are presence of oxygen and presence of water or water vapor. Oxygen and water vapor both are the components of air. So, iron, whenever it comes in contact with oxygen and moisture, which is present always in atmosphere, it gets rusted by forming a new substance, that is iron oxide, on the surface. So rusting of iron is chemical change. Now some factors are there which makes the process of rusting faster, which enhances the process. But in some places we can observe the rusting of iron is faster. It happens in a faster rate. And in some places it happens in comparatively slower rate. Why this happens? This happens because of two factors. First one is presence of higher amount of moisture. As we know, the amount of moisture or water vapor in all the places in air is not same. In some places there is more humidity or moisture present in atmosphere, and in some places the presence of water vapor in the atmosphere is less. For example, if you take the difference between the coastal place and desert. In coastal areas, the atmosphere contains or air contains more water vapor, and in desert area, water vapor present in the air is less. That is why the rusting of iron is faster in coastal area and rusting of iron is slower in desert. Presence of salt in water. The amount of salt which is dissolved in seawater is more. So, this huge amount of salt which is present in seawater enhances the process of rusting of iron and makes it faster. Rusting of iron. This process damages the iron objects and makes them useless. Because rust is a flaky substance which gradually falls off from the surface of the iron. and this way it loses the strength. Rusting of iron is very harmful process because it damages the iron objects and damages a huge amount of iron also, and this causes a lot of monetary loss to the world. So we should do something to prevent rusting. Some methods of preventing rusting of iron are given below. By painting. Rusting can be prevented by painting. We have seen the grills in our homes are painted. This gives the grills an attractive look, but the main purpose is to prevent them from rusting. When we apply a coat of paint on the surface of the iron object, then air and moisture cannot come in contact with the surface of the iron object, and thus rusting cannot take place. Rusting of iron can be prevented by applying grease or oil. When some grease or oil is applied to the surface of an iron object, then air and moisture cannot come in contact with it and hence rusting is prevented. For example, the tools and machine parts made of iron and steel are smeared with grease or oil to prevent their rusting. Rusting of iron can also be prevented by the process of galvanization. Galvanization is a process where a thin layer of zinc metal is given on iron object. Zinc is a less reactive metal which do not react with atmospheric oxygen and moisture easily. So when a thin layer of zinc is given on the iron object, then air and moisture cannot come in contact with the iron surface, and thus rusting is prevented. Rusting can be prevented by giving coating of chromium. Chromium is also a metal which has shiny appearance and does not rust. So a thin layer of chromium is given on the iron object to prevent rusting. Rusting can also be prevented by alloying. Alloys are a mixture of metal with some other metal, and sometimes metals are mixed with non-metals also. So stainless steel is one of the alloy of iron. Stainless steel is made by mixing iron with chromium, nickel and carbon. Stainless steel does not rust. The case of ships. Ships are made of iron and a part of ship always remains under seawater. Even on the part of ships which remain above seawater, water drops keep clinging to their outer surface. In spite of being painted regularly, the ships suffer a lot of damage from rusting because of the presence of salts in seawater, which makes the rusting process on the ships faster. The iron pillar near the Qutub Minar in Delhi, which is more than 7 meters high and weighs more than 6,000 kg. It was built more than 1600 years ago. Even after such a long period, the iron pillar has not rusted at all. This shows that Indian scientists had made great advances in metal making technology as back as 1600 years, which enabled them to make this iron pillar having the quality of great rust resistance. Seawater contains salt dissolved in it. Many kinds of salts are dissolved in seawater. We obtain the common salt from the seawater by the process of evaporation. But in this process, the salt which we obtain contains some soluble impurities also, which cannot be separated by the process of evaporation. And the crystals of the salt obtained by this process of evaporation are small. So, in order to get larger crystals and pure salt, we use this process of crystallization. The solid particles having flat surfaces, straight edges and regular shapes are called crystals. The process of crystallization is used to obtain large crystals of a pure solid substance from the impure solid substance. An impure solid substance usually contains two types of impurities: insoluble impurities and soluble impurities. The insoluble impurities are removed by filtering its solution, whereas soluble impurities get removed during crystallization. Crystallization of copper sulfate. We will understand the process of crystallization with the help of the example of crystallization of copper sulfate. For that, first we have to make hot saturated solution of copper sulfate. We take hot water and dissolve some copper sulfate powder in it to make saturated solution with the help of constant stirring. Then this hot concentrated solution is filtered to remove insoluble impurities. After that, we need to allow the hot concentrated solution of copper sulfate to cool slowly without disturbing. After some time, we will see large copper sulfate crystals at the bottom of the beaker. We should separate the copper sulfate crystals from solution by filtration. The soluble impurities present in copper sulfate do not crystallize and hence remain behind in the solution. In this way, we can obtain larger crystals of pure copper sulfate. We can use this process to obtain large crystals of pure common salt, alum, etc. So, that's all in this chapter. Thank you.